Yeah, so
basically.
mail privacy protection is a privacy feature that was released by Apple, I guess coming up
September
on,
21.
um, and now was reached essentially kind of full adoption. Like essentially everybody has it on Apple Mail platforms, whether
Yeah,
it's mobile, tablet, or desktop.
yeah.
It gets like turned on at like 95% plus, rates, like really high. And it does a lot of things. It blocks forwards, blocks device information,
Hmm.
it obscures the IP location by using relays. But the
Yeah.
biggest thing that it does is that it obscures opens. And it does this by essentially opening every email and sort of flooding, uh, you know, email systems with tons and tons of fake opens. And so there are real opens in all of these auto-generated opens,
Yeah.
but you can't easily tell which ones are the real ones and which ones are the fake ones, which of course is
Hmm.
absolutely by design. That is what MPP is trying to do. It's
Yeah.
trying to say, hey, like you shouldn't know when somebody opens it. So we're just going to open everything for the most part and make it really hard for you to tell, which individuals are opening
It's
emails.
a huge project on Apple side to do that. It's a huge and maybe expensive move.
Yeah, no,
Privacy,
they
privacy
definitely
aside,
increased their costs quite a lot because they needed a lot more computing power
yeah.
to do all of those opens and load up all of those images,
Hmm.
which early on they seemed to really struggle with, but they seem to be fine with now.
Yeah.
So that's what MPP does,
Hmm.
um, and it causes a lot of problems for email marketers who are largely trying to do the right thing.
Yeah.
And so, God, this is such a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I know. Yeah.
but your question is your original question was, about opens and how
Yeah.
not all ASPs are kind of being transparent about what's happening.
Yeah.
And you're absolutely right. Some ESPs don't seem to be mentioning at all, like it's a thing. Um, some ESPs, like Oracle, we take out auto opens. We set
Hmm.
those aside. You can still get access to them, but we don't include them in open reporting. And I feel great about that decision. That's not the decision that everybody
Hmm.
makes, but this is a decision I feel very comfortable with, because in the average case, 80% ish of
Hmm.
those opens are going to be junk. It's just going to be confabulated fake opens by Apple. And I'm not aware of any other data source that a company would look at and say, oh, we know this is 80% just garbage data. Let's use that.
Hmm.
So I feel very comfortable with us removing it. But what that does is that definitely suppresses opens. It lowers that baseline.
Hmm.
Now, other ESPs have just added in all the auto generated opens and they've achieved like a new, much higher baseline. I think part of the problem there is that it makes it harder to see
Yeah.
fluctuations in the real open behavior because
Hmm.
it's masked by all of this data. And
Yeah.
then so yet another approach has been to try to adjust open rates by looking at the proportion of auto-generated opens that a particular sender is generating and then using a little bit of math to kind of back it out and then
Hmm.
make assumptions about, oh, if your open rate among non-MPP users is X, let's scale it up.
Yeah.
So for instance, I know that MailChimp does this, and some other ESPs do it
Yeah.
as well. They kind of
Estimate.
remove all the auto, but then they
Hmm.
kind of add in a portion based on what the real opens rates are.
Yeah.
And so you have comparable numbers. But
Hmm.
it's definitely confusing. And your point about doing retargeting
Hmm.
based on opens or lack of opens can be problematic today, depending on what the ESP is doing. And then also journeys that are
Yeah.
based
Hmm.
on opens, which I know are really popular among a lot of B2B brands.
Yeah.
Those are also deeply problematic. I wrote an article about that for marketing profs a number of
Hmm.
months back, and I came up with like I think it was like 8 different strategies that you could like adopt to kind of get around this problem, but like none of them were, none of them were as good as just having access to real open. So there's
Hmm.
all kinds of um, concessions that we're
Yeah.
having to make because of MPP.